Hi, my name is Michael Crane. I play Dan and a bunch of other characters. Dan is a playwright. Dan is based on the playwright of the play, Dan O'Brien, and he has heard an interview with Paul Watson on Fresh Air with Terry Gross, and there's something in Paul's interview that he really identifies with, and they're both isolated people with traumatic backgrounds, and so he tracks down Paul to learn more about himself. It was a little intimidating to have the actual real person in the room for much of the rehearsal. But I actually don't think that the character in the play is exactly the playwright. So in a way, I think created a new character and eventually let go of this need to, in a way, like mimic the real Dan O'Brien, and I think it became its own character eventually.
I'm Michael Kumstein, and I'm playing Paul Watson, but I'm also playing a lot of other characters, including the character Dan O'Brien, who the second actor, Mike Crane, is principally playing. We switch up characters a lot. It's a fun ride. So I play a man called Paul Watson, who is a war reporter who's most famous as a photographer for taking the picture of the soldier who had been killed when the Black Hawk went down in Mogadishu in 1993. And although the characters in the play are Dan O'Brien, the playwright, and Paul Watson, the playwright has told us not to feel too tightly bound by that he has adjusted the characters for dramatic intent purposes, but nonetheless, I was reluctant to spend time with Paul because I didn't want in the early previews to be too aware of the distance between the real Paul and my characterization. However, circumstances prevailed, and he came to Hartford, and we went out afterwards, and I felt that it would be impossible not to engage with him just because I wanted to so much. So I sat and talked to him, and it was one of the most fascinating experiences I've ever had. This guy has seen some of the most awful circumstances in terms of what people do to each other in wars all over the world. He has a congenitally deformed arm, which he's dealt with since his birth. He's described in the play as being almost a mythic character, going back again and again into the underworld. In spite of that, he's incredibly joyful. He's sort of cherubic. He's got these extraordinary stories. He's got a range of interests that is wild. He's talking about science and philosophy and religion and culture and all these other things. He's got a pragmatic view of the world, and I just wanted to attach myself to him and turn him into a mentor. So it was thrilling. He never sees the show. The show has been produced a couple of times before. He never sees it. He just prefers it that way. So I don't have to worry that he's going to be sitting there saying, that doesn't look like me at all. But it was a thrilling experience. So Paul has an arm that extends to sort of what would be halfway down his forearm here. He has no fingers. He has a very small palm, which he describes as being about the size of an infant's, and a very small vestigial thumb. So now, because in the play, I play him most of the time, but then sometimes I flip out of him when I'm playing other characters. It wasn't possible to consider any sort of prosthetic because it has to come and go. So all I do is this, and when Mike Crane, the other actor, is playing Paul, we do this, we mirror each other, and then when I become another character, I simply, have a different physicality with the hand. So it's just that much of an indication of the reality of Paul's arm.
My name is Sid Scotch. I'm the projection designer for Body of an American. I had an immediate in as working in a visual medium, so we're doing a piece about a photographer and about some incredibly iconic images that ended up, I think, really affecting anyone who was an adult or a young adult at the time in 1993 when the images came out. So I knew from the beginning that I'd both be working with those images and working against them, that they were informing so much of what we were doing that there would need to be some kind of twist or some kind of alternate way into understanding that space than just the iconic images, which you do see during the show.
My name is Casey Childs. I'm the executive producer and founder of Primary Stages Company. I think I originally came across this play. We were reading for the Horton Foot Award about 3 or 4 years ago, and we blind read the scripts, and we gave honors to this play, and then we just followed it from there and decided we wanted to produce it in New York.
I'm Michelle Bossy, and I'm the Associate Artistic Director of Primary Stages. The play knocks you out when you first encounter it, either reading it or seeing it in a reading or on stage. It's really powerful, it's very intense, and it's very personal. It's a story about the playwright Dan and his experience with Paul Watson, the war photographer. And what's so uncanny about it is Dan has actually written himself into the play, which is really unusual for a playwright to be that honest and specific about their experience, and it's really a chronicle of how they connect through some personal trauma that they've both been through. So I'm part of the artistic team here at Primary Stages, which means that I'm part of the producing arm of the organization. I help select the season and then put all of the pieces together once we have the season selected. So that will be anything from helping to cast the actors, putting the playwright in touch with directors, helping the designers come on board, and then seeing the play through from start to finish. So making sure that the original intention of what the playwright wanted to achieve is seen through from start to finish.